Hey, Balakrishna.
Hi Ari, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. So how's
So,
everything over there?
all normal, basically, more or less.
That's
Like,
good to hear.
well, not like, for example, restaurants are still just open if they have outdoor seating, but other than that, things are hopefully getting more or less back to normal. I'm not sure, like, if I think some of the sports facilities are still closed, but like indoor sports, but other than that, I guess it's getting quite normal now.
Did they start vaccinations for you in Switzerland?
I haven't got mine yet. I hope that in June timeframe they will have
Mm-hmm.
those. I did register, I think, about 2 months ago to the queuing, but since I'm not old enough, I don't have any diabetes or elderly to take care of. So I guess I'm kind of the last batch they will do.
Yeah, but still June is a good time. It's hardly one more month.
Yeah, oh, keeping my fingers crossed because I think here they just use Pfizer and Moderna vaccinations. So no AstraZeneca nor Johnson and Johnson. So I think only
Pfizer
that's
seems to
my
be Pfizer seems to be a good one, right? I mean, I see a lot of people, uh, looking for Pfizer.
yeah. Yeah, my one friend, he got his jab I think about 2 weeks ago, and at least for him, the doctor said that after the first, it's about 90% already, and then the second one, it should just keep on going like up, I think up to 95, and then well, nobody knows for how long because they've been just giving those less than 6 months now. I think they started in December. So, but yeah, hopefully sooner or later, everything will get better. But news from India, they are still quite worrying. It's just crazy.
It's I don't know what to say. I mean, it's causing a panic every day, and people are trying to cope up with it. And
Yeah.
personally, at this point, I can say that every single one of us are impacted by this. Unlike last year it was like okay, my friends, cousins, friends were infected. That's how the scenario was.
Yeah.
But this year, as I had already said in the previous meeting, some of my close family friends passed away,
Yeah.
and many of my friends' parents are very sick, and we are quite scared for them.
Yeah.
We just have to go about it. But something new and good has come up. We have a very famous surgeon here in India.
Hmm.
Um, he is usually most often in USA, but right now he's back in India and he's forming a panel who
Okay.
can work out on the pandemic situation. So they are saying that they can curb the situation in next 3 months.
Okay. Yeah. Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what was the latest I saw? Like people actually they go to hospital, but since they're so full, they prefer to get back home or whatever. So that because they don't get any care in hospital. So it's better for people that even though they take them in, but then they leave again because they don't get anything from hospital. So they rather suffer at home.
Yes.
No oxygen, no care, nothing. So it's just a crazy situation.
Yes. This has been a very scary situation lately.
Yeah. Just, well, everybody just try to stay away from everybody else and stay at home, and that's it. I think that's best you can do.
Yes. Let's hope everything gets better soon.
Yeah.
Okay, it's 11:30 already. We'll wait for another 2 minutes and then start. Is that fine?
Yeah.
Hi, folks.
Hey, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew. Hi, Raghavendra.
Hello, Balga. Good morning.
Oh,
Hello, Zari. Good morning.
hey, good morning. or good day. Let me just because I dig out the document. Just close this because I'm not going to look at the camera anyway.
We had got some interesting comments from Martin Yagi last week.
Yeah.
Probably we can discuss that before we go ahead.
Yeah. Do you have a link to the document to hand? So I don't have that right now.
Yes, I do. I will share that here in the chat.
Oh, perfect.
Before that, I'll just share the antitrust policy.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I not able to share my screen? Okay, where's the antitrust? Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yep, looks good.
Yeah, so this is the antitrust policy. As always said in the meeting, this is also available in the Linux Foundation website. And for any queries, you can write to Linux Foundation or to Shane. They can help you more with this. And yeah, let's go to the document then. So here's the link for the document. How do I send a message?
Chat from the bottom and then
Yeah.
type message here.
Well, that's the problem. I'm not finding the chat option.
Or maybe you need to hover over the. If you are in full screen mode, I think that's. They need to hover over, I believe.
So let me stop sharing screen for a moment. Yeah. Here's the link.
Oh,
I was joining for Zoom meetings on another laptop, so that has a completely different UI. It's a MacBook.
Ah, okay.
And this is a Windows machine, so again, I'm not able to get used to the UI here. So here's the document link. Please do let me know if the link is working.
It works.
Okay, that's good. So I'll share my screen back again. I think we have Marshall Kurzman, right? Hi, Marshall. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen again. Please do let me know once you can see the screen.
Yep.
Yes.
I'll just refresh this page. And before we go into the course content itself, I'll just open the comments which we received from Martin Yagi so that we can clarify on those comments. Oh, yeah. So here it is. So it's 3 parts: people implementing OS's compliance policy, process, and program. Okay, it's not clear whether it is for the purpose of for the people implementing OS's compliance policy or process program, participants of OS's compliance program, or both A and B. So our initial idea of this course was that we use this course as a basic foundation course that is kind of per se, which OpenChain also refers to, right? It comes from OpenChain for the basic foundation course of open source. That is, this would be the know-how course of what is open source, how to reach the compliance, the basic foundation of compliance, not the tooling and the procedures of it, but just to nudge on the foundation of the open source compliance processes. That's what this course will be providing for all the audiences. So this will not be per se to tell people that this is how you have to do the open source compliance activities, or these are the processes that are set in stone that has to be followed. This is what we had discussed over series of meetings, and we continue with the same ideology. Is that fine with everyone?
Yes, I would agree. And I was just thinking, when I was reading these Martin's comments, that whenever this course is posted on let's say Linux Foundation Learning, it should be clearly stated there that okay what it is, so that people will register and then know what they are getting.
Yes. So this has to be a disclaimer or something that we read in the certification or somewhere with a proper keyword that says this course is just a foundation course and not, how do we say, a policy that has to be set. It's just a foundation course on how much we need to know before starting with the core courses or core competencies of open source and open source compliance.
Yep.
Let me just make a note of it. Okay, provide clear documentation.
Mhm. Yeah. Because the way that we've done this internally is that we've used the same base materials, the slide deck, and have truncated them very significantly. So the foundation course is a lot shorter than the materials that we have here at the moment. Because I think the issue that I have with it is that it does go into far too much detail in various areas, and I know we've sort of addressed that by putting that at having different levels, but I suppose that's what I would like to do is actually happens that my wife happens to be a sort of training course specialist in a different field, but anyway, is ask her to have a look through it, because I think what it's missing at the moment, and I think where I agree with Martin is that the initial chapters make a lot of sense as a foundation, and they're basically the chapters that we have adopted in the truncated course that we use to give to clients. But after that, what it lacks is a sense of development and narrative flow, which I think is going to make it quite difficult for people to follow.
Yes.
And that's not to say that it isn't, it isn't a great material. And I think it's a fantastic starting point. And I think this is one of these situations where we can spend years perfecting something that never sees the light of day. I think we probably all agreed that we need to get something up and running sooner rather than later, but with sort of the underlying idea that it is going to be iterated and will necessarily improve over time as people use it more and more in a live context.
True, Andrew. Yeah. Yes. So, Andrew, as you said, we first need this course to see the light of day, right? So, and also, since our earlier discussions, there is a plan of splitting this course into multiple levels, where we give the foundation course to the necessary audience, and then furthermore specialist courses extracted out of this course to the next level of audience, that is, who are directly involved in the compliance or open source program developments, right? But to do that,
yes, yeah, no, absolutely, and I think that's sort of definitely a fairly major step in the right direction.
yes. I'm sorry, sorry for interrupting, but I just complete my point if you don't mind. So,
yeah, sure.
Yeah, so as per one of the previous discussions, we have an opportunity to revisit the course, and then once we have the initial release available for the public to use this and go through the course, we can collect feedback on the courses. Meanwhile, we work on the second release where we try to curate the course more for the next levels or the next set of audiences, and then re-release the course as per the planning of individual releases
Yeah.
as a foundation and a more specialist course individually.
Yeah,
So
yeah, no, I understood. Yes, yeah.
this is what I wanted to convey. Is that right, or do you have any other suggestions which we can incorporate here?
I mean, I keep on coming back to this idea that I'm quite keen to see it as being modular, and it is definitely sort of moving in that direction. I mean, you know, if you look at the grid that's at the back of the sample open source policy, that's quite a lot more granular. So what that talks about is having, you know, rather than just you know, compliance management engineers or whatever the categories we have at the moment,
Yes.
you know, actually has significantly more categories, because I think, you know, we want there are people, so for example in the marketing department or customer facing people who are dealing with queries and so on, that, you know, need to have a sort of different set of modules. So it's not. I think we probably. I mean, I would be happy to see an additional dimension over and
Definitely.
above that, just the, you know, the dimension of sort of introductory, immediate, and advanced, and then flesh out the other dimension of the of the particular roles that needs to cover various things, and that's obviously going to vary from organization to organization as well. But as I say, I mean, what I don't want to do here is to suggest that you know, we rip everything up and start again, because I think the work that has been done is excellent work.
Yes.
And you know, so I think what you're talking about, if I summarize what you're saying correctly, is that what we need to develop now is a roadmap, so we can take this document and get it to ultimately where we want it to be over a number of different iterations.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now that makes sense to me.
So what we do now at the highest priority is we curate the document with all the comments what we have got from one of our colleagues from LF technical team,
Yeah.
and then we allow this course to be published in the Linux Foundation as a basic course, and then people be going through this. Meanwhile, we collect all the feedbacks. But as you suggested right now, we also come up with a timeline and a definite roadmap where we do not have to diverge from the roadmap or the timelines, and then we come up with the modular solutions, because modular one is one of the most popular demands that is coming up everywhere, not only in these meetings but also in the main meetings or everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So that has to be our concentration. But before that, as a high priority, if we can release this document by fixing all the comments, I think that would get us to the first step and would pace up the next processes with more interest and more involvement from
Hmm.
more volunteers.
Yeah, no, agreed. I mean, I'm wondering if there's an argument for saying that we shouldn't actually at this stage just shorten it very significantly, because I mean, there's, you know, it's a fairly lengthy document and there's a lot of queries in there at the moment. So maybe just focus on the individual chapters, the initial chapters, and then have them polished and published by the Linux Foundation, and then that gives us you know, a little bit more time, because I think. I mean, I'm, you know, personally, I'm dealing with 101 other OpenChain related things at the moment. So unfortunately, I can't give this the priority that I would love to be able to give it. But I'm just wondering if that might be a better approach, is to sort of focus on the initial chapters and get them released sooner rather than later, and then circle back to the more detailed ones
Yes,
later, once we have more of a narrative structure.
yes, that sounds like a beautiful idea. And also, yes, for you and Marcel or many other volunteers here in OpenChain, you're all already, flooded with a lot of tasks of the community.
Hmm.
So it will be a difficult task for you to individually provide time for this. But yes, as you suggested, we go through individual topics first, curate
Yeah.
it, fix all the comments, and then uh, you know uh, go for the granular topics. That's a very good idea. And as a starter, I have already started fixing two comments. That is, we had to fix the uh, knowledge check part for individual chapters. I fixed those. We had got some comments here, so I have fixed those. I have added multiple options, and there was a comment to add yes or no type of questions for individual knowledge check chapters or modules. So I have already completed that. So finally,
Yeah,
what we
brilliant.
have to here, one last thing what is pending is to create a final exam. And for the final exam, one of the comments or one of the requirements from the technical team is the questions have to be different from the individual chapter knowledge check questions. So what I was thinking is, now during this last couple of weeks, I have been going through the other open source trainings that are offered by Linux Foundation. That is LF210 and LFC 202 to 208. I've been going through all these courses. And one common thing what I saw was each individual module or chapter knowledge checks, they will have 3 questions at max. And then final exam will have 10 questions with mix of all the chapters. So what I was thinking was we have 8 chapters here, and on an average, the 8 chapters have about 4 to 5 questions. If we can reduce all the questions to 3, the remaining questions we can just move it on to the final exam, so that we don't have to work on creating new question and answers for the final exam. Rather, we can reuse them, and then one more task will be completed in matter of 5-10 minutes.
Sounds
Is
good.
that a viable solution?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I'll do that today, right? As soon as this meeting is over, I can do that today because it doesn't need much of discussion. I can just do it on my own there. So right now, probably we can concentrate more on the chapters as Andrew suggested, the initial chapters, and then we try to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, like if we go for the idea that okay, we first publish, let's say, the initial couple of first chapters, then the exam needs to be reflect the questions on what was like taught on those chapters.
Yes. So that also needs to be a point here. But one thing what we can also see is, see, this is not exactly a very lengthy document if we remove the pages of the knowledge check. The knowledge check, the glossary, and then the final exam, these pages itself come up to some 15 pages. Then finally we are left with some 45 pages. So 45 pages, 8 chapters, and 8 chapters are fairly small. So I don't think it would take much time. What we can do is during the course of this meeting, we have another 40 minutes left. So during the course of this meeting, we can look into the initial chapters, try to fix it, and use that as a reference copy. And probably whoever has time, whenever we start fixing the next chapters. Is that a good idea, or is there any other solution?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so thank you. So we can just start with the chapter 1 here. Yeah. So the first comment here was initially this introduction chapter overview was empty. Please provide 2 to 3 short paragraphs explaining what this chapter is about. So I have not provided 2 to 3 short paragraphs, but instead I've added one paragraph here that says the chapter provides a overview of the field of intellectual property. It intends to provide foundation of knowledge on which the rest of the course depends. Do you think we can add more to this, or is this enough? And then we proceed to the next.
Yeah, I mean, my gut reaction would be to again simplify it significantly, because there's quite a lot of stuff in here. I mean, it's terribly legal and theoretical. It goes into the philosophical basis of intellectual property, and it also talks about. I mean, it talks about designs, for example. The rest of the document doesn't talk about designs at all. So why do we need to talk about design? Do we and then it sort of so I mean, the traditional way that lawyers talk about copyright is copyright protects original work authorship, right? What does the word protect mean in this context? That's not something that's going to be immediately obvious to somebody who has not already had some form of introduction. So again, I sort of feel like I'm being sort of overly critical here, so I'm sort of fairly uncomfortable saying this, but I think it's written by a lawyer, and as a lawyer, that's not necessarily a good thing. I think it needs to be something which is resonates much more closely with people who don't already understand the legal concepts, because this is what we're trying to do, is we're trying to introduce them to sort of base level legal concepts. So I think that first of all, we need to be clear that we're not trying to introduce things that are irrelevant. So, for example, again, trade secrets. You know, why do we need to talk about trade secrets in the introduction to this course? So I think there's, and then, you know, it talks about sort of warranties and indemnifications and so on. I mean, does that mean anything to most people? You know, but that's something that really only becomes relevant when we're talking about sort of notices later. Yeah. So again, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm being sort of very, very critical here, but I'm trying to approach it with the eye of, you know, somebody who has not had any sort of introduction to these concepts before, and I have to say part of this is informed by the fact that you know, my daughter, who's 18, she's currently doing a course, Copyright X, which is produced by the Berkman Center at Harvard. It's a distance learning course for copyright, and it's absolutely superb. And I did it myself a few years ago as well, and you know, it is very good at introducing these concepts in a way that I mean, it's designed to be able to be done by 14-year-olds, so they do start from a sort of fairly basic level. And I'm just wondering if the sort of the starting point is the correct one. And in a sense, I think the problem is that everyone on this call almost knows too much. You know, we have too much understanding and knowledge of what's going on. So I think it's quite difficult for us to sort of look at it with the eyes of somebody who has had no introduction to these issues.
Yes, and you're right, Andrew. So if I mean, anyone who has not done a specialization in open source, they wouldn't need the details of design or trade secrets or trademarks, because these are necessary only for the people who are more into M&A. And
yeah, exactly.
we don't see 80% of the open source compliance people doing M&A. It's only the 20%.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah,
you're right. You do not need design or trade secrets in the initial document. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we can remove that. Is that fine with everyone else in the meeting?
I come from the M&A.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think at some point down the line we should definitely have a specialist, you know, M&A module which expressly deals with those things. Yeah, I mean, my view is it's probably too early to introduce those concepts.
Yeah,
at the moment.
yeah. No, I agree that, for example, like trade secrets or I don't know, what do we have, like consumer and brand protection? Yeah.
So we can actually eliminate these here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or monopoly to intent. Yeah, well, you know, maybe that's like good to know. Like,
How do I add a comment to remove this?
that's a good question. The plus sign, you know, next to the link sign, it's add comment there.
Yeah.
There you are.
And let me just strike them. Is there an option or a shortcut here to strike them here in Google Docs? If anyone knows, please do help me with this. How can we?
Yeah, I'm looking as well, you know, at the same time.
Yeah.
Format text and then strike through. Alt Shift 5.
Okay. Format text. Strike through. Oh,
Yeah, there we go. Good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, like Andrew, you were saying that because we are looking at these, with the eyes,
Mhm.
through the eyes who already know these concepts. It's difficult to kind of step into some other person's shoes who's not that familiar with, let's say, what copyright is
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
And the next part is again to make this into more narrative part, right? So that is also something we have to think about. Well, since we are more deeply involved in these topics, reading them in points makes more sense for us. But anyone who is new, they need more narrative style of text here. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's really difficult. We are so used to reading everything in PowerPoint. Putting something in narrative, it becomes a little challenging here. But any suggestions here?
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem is that this isn't. I mean, from my personal perspective, this is not the best way to work because I think I find it a lot easier just to go into the document and sort of amend it without trying to do it in a sort of collaborative way because maybe just because I'm antisocial.
Yeah, Andrew. I mean, that is quite understandable. That's how most of us have worked for a very long time.
Yes, yeah,
But we want to
exactly.
basically utilize this time to speed up on this document. So this is one of the, trials
Yeah,
which we are doing.
yeah, no,
Or
absolutely. I mean, again, I'm sort of
we can do
wondering
one
if
more
it's,
thing. We can do one more thing. Just like how we tried to skim out the parts which are not exactly necessary here in the basic course document, we can try to go through rest of the initial chapters and see what is not necessary.
yeah, I think that would be helpful. Yes, yeah.
And I was thinking again here. Since here the chapter 1 is just introduction to intellectual property, and it speaks about what are the different types of intellectual property that are existing, right? Um,
hmm
wouldn't it be, can we take this trade secret and trademark and consumer brand protection as one of those awareness key points, and we just rather than removing it completely from the document, we can just add a disclaimer here saying these are not discussed here in this document, but this is uh, just one of the other types of intellectual property that exists.
Yeah, but then you can sort of end up with a sort of list of intellectual property that talks about mask rights and plant breeders' rights and database rights, and so
Yeah.
what I would be tempted to do is actually to sort of to avoid using the term intellectual property as the heading,
Mhm.
and then say what something like sort of how is software, and again this is better where I'm just sitting with a cold sort of damp towel on my head just thinking about this, but how what's the relationship between software and copyright, patents and similar rights, something like that, rather than using the term intellectual property. But that, and again, I'm sort of conscious that I'm sort of suggesting a pretty radical change here. I mean, there is a sort of slight further agenda, in that, I mean, OpenChain is gradually moving away from the idea that it is purely intellectual property related, and now that we're talking about extending it to cover things like security, and export control and this sort of thing. So over time, the emphasis is going to move away from intellectual property compliance. I mean, obviously, it is going to be an absolutely core part of it. But at the moment, it's it's front and center. So that's just something that I've got, you know, in the back of my mind when we're talking about this, thinking about where all of this is going to evolve over time.
Yeah, I mean, there are newer concerns coming up every day. For example,
yes, exactly.
Just just some time ago in US, someone started providing copyrights for CRC codes, and
yes,
it is turning into a rather complicated subject every day. But
it is. Yes, yeah. So I mean, this introduction course is basically sort of, you know, introducing people to the concept. Ultimately, it's to do with license compliance. So whether the introductory chapter should be something about you know, an introduction to license compliance, and then it says, you know, what do we mean by compliance? It's like, well, software is covered by copyright and, to a lesser degree, patents and possibly other rights as well. To make use of those rights, you need to have a license, and then so that is the way of sort of, you know, building up from zero knowledge, gradually increasing the level of knowledge. And, you know, 80% of what we've got in here is completely relevant to that. So, you know, it's not a question of completely rewriting everything. But
that was actually a good narrative, Andrew. If you could, you know, help us by adding those comments here, I can incorporate that later after this meeting.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I'll just I'll get into the document here.
Then kind of continuing what Andrew was saying, that, you know, like when we start to talk about open source, you know, we always, you know, talk about copy left, and how from copyright we get to the term copy left. I think that would be kind of good transition also from the copyright to copy left, and, you know, to the open source licenses.
But I think we don't have a copy left topic here, right?
Yeah, definitely. But, you know, this would be kind of like building the basis for that.
Oh, yeah, it needs a better narration which links the copyright and copy left. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yari, could you kindly add the comment over here near the? I think this is the chapter where it can be added, or if you see any other place in the license reciprocity and copyleft license, or if you see that it has to be added in any other place, please to drop a comment about that. So
Yeah.
Okay, now so we have. And I had one more query here which I wanted to ask everyone. So we have a lot of suggestions here from Mary as well. We can check other non-open source licensing situations. Remove this, merged in the above. Okay. Okay, so we have a suggestion here from one of our other OpenChain education volunteers, where they suggest that we can remove this heading. Okay, I jumped a lot. Let me just. This is in chapter 2. Okay, so chapter 1 we are clear, right? We incorporate the suggestions given by Andrew, and we have removed some of the topics here. And rest of the chapter talks about copyright concepts in software and patents in software. So we go to chapter 2. So here in chapter 2, please provide the definition and the URL. Yes, that has been added. Thank you. And provide an example. Others might edit it. Not all licenses are compatible. For example, if two packages, this will be described more in later this lesson. Okay. There are various types of software licenses that may provide software without cost, but under different terms to an open source license. Freeware is usually software distributed as binary code. Okay, there's freeware, shareware. Notices and examples. License reciprocity. Section, same title and somewhat similar content. This part. Okay, I think we can get rid of this part here. If you can see my screen, if you're free. We have here in the chapter 2, under license use case related to open source software, we have a topic which discusses about freeware, shareware, and public domain. And under license reciprocity and copyleft licenses, again, we have a discussion about other non-open source licensing situations. So again, there's a discussion about freeware, shareware, and public domain. This has been removed and merged by one of our colleagues, and yeah, I think we can remove this part also. Okay, the document gets a little more shorter. Nice. Then comes the license compatibility.
Right, so I've made a sort of few suggestions and added some comments here, which are sort of hopefully helpful.
Okay. Let me just focus on intellectual property, license compliance. Okay, so I will try to incorporate this after this meeting.
Brilliant, brilliant.
Cool. Yes. So thank you, Andrew. And yeah. So removed. Informations are commonly subject to is your rights. Okay. Oh, these are a lot of comments. Thank you. I think this will help us get some narration here.
Yeah, good, good.
That's me also. The legal terminology is having capital M here. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's a good improvement what we have had here in this discussion. And the term copyleft is introduced, a good place to make a link between copyright and copyleft from where copyleft comes from. Keeping the local. Okay, thank you, Yari. We will. I will try to find a relational explanation for this. If I'm not able to, I will get back to you, and then probably you can get a more detailed explanation for it.
Why shows anonymous? Oh, maybe I wasn't logged in. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it for me. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Because I think I was having it open on Firefox, and I'm, logged in from Edge. So I try to keep my, so that whenever I'm, using Firefox, that Google doesn't know that where I'm browsing.
Yeah. Actually, good in a way. Google is tracking us too much nowadays.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good pace what we have come to here, and as I mentioned earlier, here we have removed some of the content here, which was also a suggestion given by Mary and Matron. Because the same topic is again discussed here in the top, at the beginning, under license use cases related to open source license and the other non-open source licensing situations. So it's discussed here. Easy. So that's done. Next, for chapter 3, again, we have a lot of corrections which have already been incorporated. So the smaller incorporations have been done. We have to change this to a narrative style. We'll try doing that.
Yeah, so what I've done with some of my suggested amendments is to make it more into a narrative style. So thinking in terms of, what I would say if I was delivering this course to the slides.
Yeah. Yes, Andrew. So thank you. So I will try to add your narrations here as it is. We'll try to keep them intact as much as possible. Wherever there needs a smaller changes, I will do that, and then probably you can see that later here in the comments.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, brilliant.
Yes. So that's good work that we have done, and I think we're almost out of time now, and I have to run for another meeting. So I'll take a leave here, and I'll try to incorporate all the comments what we have got here, and I will
Yeah,
also
fantastic.
have the final exam ready by end of the day, and we'll send out email notification of what all changes have been done.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks, Balakrishna. That's absolutely superb. And I do apologise. I hope I haven't sort of rocked the boat too much, but I think things are definitely heading in the right direction. So that's really good.
That's a lot of help already. Thank you very much. And yeah, I think Reza has joined us recently. So, hi, Reza.
Hi, morning, afternoon. Sorry, I mixed up a calendar. I didn't.
No problem, happens.
I apologize. Late, it's late attendant.
So just to give you a just to give you a brief update of what happened just now, is we looked into the initial topic. There are some repetitive comments as we have to make the content more narrative. Right now it's in PPT style where it's a lot of points discussed here, but if we are delivering a course, it has to be more narrative. So to make the document more narrative, Andrew has given some points, and Yari has shared some points. The comments are available on the document. And also what we did was we removed some of the points here, if you can see. For example, here in chapter 1, what we discussed was the trade secrets, trademarks, and consumer brand protection. These are not necessary here in the basic foundation course, as it's anyone who is doing a foundation course, it's not really necessary for them. And the majority of this document talks more about software compliance and how is software in turn related to copyrights and patents and other aspects of it. So we decided that we remove this, and then we skimmed out some more parts from chapter 2 that it's been skimmed out by our colleague, another colleague. So we just incorporated the same. And then finally, for the knowledge check and final exam, in each chapter knowledge check, we have more than 3 to 4 questions, but as a regular practice from other Linux Foundation open source courses, individual chapter knowledge check questions will have about 3 questions. So if you can see here, we have more than 3 questions in individual chapters. Where did I go?
Yeah. I don't see your screen anyway, but I'll definitely go through the changes.
Yeah. So what we decided was we reuse the questions from the other chapters onto final exam, so that we don't have to break our heads in creating new question and answers for the final exam. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that my screen was not presenting. Yeah. So by end of day, we will have the comments incorporated and the final exam questions ready, and the individual chapter knowledge checks curated.
Brilliant.
Okay, so thank you everyone for joining the meeting and your valuable inputs. We will join again in the next meeting, and by end of day, I'll send out an email notification of what all changes have been incorporated and changes have been done on the document. Of course, it's available on the document, just to keep rest of the community updated. Whoever does not have the access to document, or who are busy in other activities, and they look at the email at least. Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Balakrishna, just a quick question. Like, what's the current timeline when we would like this, let's say the first iteration be available?
Yeah, so that's actually the initial timeline was we had to have this given to the technical team by end of April.
Yeah.
now we have already moved past April. So if we can complete this activity by end of this week, I think that would be a really good achievement what we can do from this group.
Okay.
So
Sorry, Andrew, please.
I'll try my best, and I request everyone else to also join hands, and then we do this as soon as possible.
Fantastic. Good stuff.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. I have to run for my other meeting. Have a nice day. Take
Okay,
care.
thanks, Balakrishna.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye, bye.
Goodbye.